Every single day I do these live streams and I have so much to say, but it's sometimes just so hard to know where to even start. Where to even start. Because we're living through the absolutely most dumbest timeline possible. Like, we are living through something so crazy and terrifying in American history that it's kind of it's unprecedented to even like talk about it. Let me stand up and stretch really quickly. Hold on. I just need to stand up and stretch. Whew, it is hot out here, let me tell you. How's everyone doing? Because it's important to lean on each other. It's important to lean on each other. Okay, that was an important stretch. Sometimes you just need to stretch it out. So, y'all, it is so hard to know where to even start, and I am here to make it as easy to understand as possible. Okay? There's a lot happening in the news right now. The reason why it took so long for me to finally get on to discuss this is Monday is actually my day off, and I took a lot of time this morning to fully break down and understand everything that's happening. For people who are not politically knowledgeable, I am the person that is going to explain it in the layman's sense terms. Sometimes our media doesn't do a great job at communicating these complex, crazy things to us. I'm going to break down in an 11-point thing what has happened. I'm going to back up everything that I say with information and sources. This morning, I compiled this list. This is the timeline of events that have occurred to lead up to this point. Now, you're like, well, are we in World War III? Are we not in World War III? What have we done? We bombed these people, but we're not at war. Am I in danger? Let me give you a 11-point summary. All right. Number 1, Trump pulls out of the Iran deal in 2018. This Iran deal basically de-escalated a lot of tensions, and it said that Iran, the country, could not make nuclear weapons. He pulls out of that deal. That's what he did back in 2018. All right. Then, going up to 2024, Trump campaigns on ending foreign wars. Now, this is actually one thing I agreed with Trump on. It's like, yeah, great, we don't need to be in any more wars. All right, he campaigned on that. He was like, we don't need any more wars. We don't need any more wars. All right, number 3, Israel, our ally, we are in an alliance with them. They start ramping up attacks on their nemesis, Iran. They say that, Iran has nuclear weapons. They have nuclear weapons. Well, you know what's interesting is we have nuclear weapons. Israel has nuclear weapons. And they're like, Iran has nuclear weapons. That's dangerous because Iran isn't our friend. So they start ramping up these attacks on them. And Iran actually does not have nuclear weapons. And you're like, wait, why does everyone think they do? Because all of politicians that want and are funded by the U.S. military-industrial complex are saying that they do. It's the exact same crap of weapons of mass destruction all over again. All over again. And this is bipartisan, by the way. More Republicans than Democrats, but still bipartisan. Iran, the country, I will probably use them interchangeably, actually, after having the deal ripped up, they started enriching uranium. Now, that doesn't mean that you're developing any nuclear weapons. It just means that you're enriching uranium. And in fact, intelligence by the Trump administration was like, yeah, there's no evidence showing that they're actually building a nuclear weapon or compiling one. They're just enriching uranium so that they can do it for scientific research and to deliver reliable energy to the country that often suffers from blackouts. The Trump administration's own Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, you'll see that as DNI as the abbreviation, as well as the intelligence community reports, there's no evidence that Iran is building a nuclear weapon. So right now, you basically had Donald Trump, our president, bomb another country because he believes they have nuclear weapons, when Trump's own intelligence officers and community says, yeah, that's not true. There's no evidence to suggest that. So we as a country just bombed another sovereign country without evidence that they are a threat or dangerous to us. We just basically smacked the crap out of someone when they were not a threat. There was no evidence to say that they were a threat whatsoever. And now they're pissed. Now they're about to come at us with everything they got, jeopardizing our own country. This is not okay. It doesn't matter what the president is, who the president is. Doesn't matter their party. Take the party politics out of all of this crap. We've seen it over and over, where the United States likes to fearmonger and say, oh, look, there's this threat. There's this brown person. There's this country. And there's no evidence of this weapons of mass destruction. No evidence that Iran is dangerous. And yet they go in and do this. I hate to break it to you. I'm as American as they come. We are oftentimes the antagonist on the world stage. We start wars and then we try to back out of them. We go and unprovokingly smack other countries, and then we're like, no, don't hurt us. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. So continuing on here, Trump ignores that intel that, hey, there's no evidence showing that Iran is actually building a nuclear weapon. And they decide to go ahead, without evidence, back up Israel and just bomb them. Bomb Iran. All right? Then Trump breaks the Constitution by ordering these strikes without the consent of Congress, circumventing the powers of Congress. Again, I'm going to go through every single piece of this with a lot of information. This is just a summary. This is just the executive summary, all right? Undermining our Constitution, Trump bombs the crap out of Iran, then also calls for peace in the exact same statement. Then Trump claims that Iran needs regime change, even though his own cabinet assured that's not his goal. Then MAGA is divided on whether this is good or bad. Is it MAGA to be for or against these actions? That's a whole thing. And now we've possibly entered World War III, and America is now a possible target for retaliation from Iran after we unprovokingly just bombed their country. Now, today, I do not have any patience for people who are just loudmouth trolls in the chat. I don't have any patience for that crap. So today I'm actually going to turn on chat filters because I don't want these people who are just going to try and divert the conversation. If you are someone who's a subscriber of mine, you can comment. But I'm not going to do anything with people who are just being obnoxious for the purpose of being obnoxious. Sorry, I don't have the wherewithal to want to go ahead and do that. Okay? Sorry, I don't. I am going to be giving the information of what has just happened. So, let's start off from the very beginning. As after I gave you that executive summary, this is what we know. All right? The U.S. on Saturday, I don't know if it was Saturday during the day or during the evening, launches bombs on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. Now, again, as I pointed out in previous live streams and will point out again now, there is no evidence to suggest that the country of Iran is using this enriched uranium for a nuclear weapon. No evidence whatsoever. The Trump administration's own director of national intelligence, who I personally am not a big fan of, her name is Tulsi Gabbard. She is a former Democratic congresswoman, also a veteran, very much a supposed isolationist that doesn't believe in military intervention, which I kind of agree on that, but oftentimes does. Basically said, hey, she went before Congress under oaths saying, yeah, I'm telling the truth. There's no evidence to suggest that Iran is actually developing any nuclear weapons. And you're like, well, they're enriching uranium. Doesn't that mean that they're doing nuclear weapons? No, not necessarily. I use this analogy over and over. Just because I might be in the kitchen sharpening a knife doesn't mean I'm going to then use that knife to hurt someone. to do a nefarious action to harm someone. It could also mean that I'm about to cut up some things to make a salad or to make a meal. So it's important for us to not jump to conclusions when we see that. Does that make sense? So we, over the weekend on Saturday, just bombed Iran. We just bombed Iran because we're like, oh my God, they have so many different weapons, even though there's no evidence to suggest they're using this enriched uranium for weapons. The US military carried out massive precision strikes on 3 nuclear assemblies in the Iran regime. The places are called Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. So you'll hear those are the locations, all right? Going forward here, this is what Donald Trump said on his own Truth Social. This is his own Truth Social. This was about a day ago. Let me get out my hands really quickly. Where's my other hand? This is what he said. We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran. And let me tell you, I don't run, but I ran, I prefer to walk. Including, and we did it at these 3 nuclear sites, including Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. That's also misspelled, I believe, but I could be wrong. All planes are now outside the Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs. I don't know why that's in all caps. Bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that it could have done this. Now is the time for peace. You just bombed the crap of another country, and now you have the audacity to be like, I just want to be at peace, okay? I just want to be at peace. Imagine if you had just gone and literally gone over to your neighbor and just smacked them in the face, and then as soon as they go to fight back and they're like, no, I want to be at peace. It's like, you're the one that just unprovokedly smacked the crap out of someone, and now you're like, no, don't hit me. It's like, you cannot hit someone and then think that, you can't hit me back. No backsies. Like, he's like, thank you for your attention on this matter. It's like, I hit you, but you can't hit me. That's just crazy. Our president, imagine if this was Joe Biden. Just pause for a second. Take the existing facts and just replace it with Joe Biden. And you have Joe Biden just go and unprovokedly bomb another country with no intelligence showing that they're actually building a nuclear weapon. They go and do that. And now it's like, oh, look, Jack, we need peace. That would be so weird and so cringeworthy. It's like, ugh. Also, just to be fair, there is some speculation / criticism to be made that Joe Biden did something somewhat similar. And it wasn't okay then either. So we'll get to that in a second. But for anyone that is like, oh, well, President Biden did this, that's not an excuse. It doesn't mean that Democrats or anyone were okay with that kind of thing, So we'll talk about that. And we'll say, well, is that different? Is that the same? I'm very critical of everything all the time, 24/7. So, basically, as a summary, you have Donald Trump, our president, unprovokedly attack another country, bombs their nuclear facilities, even though U.S. intelligence shows that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. Let me actually go ahead and skip to that information. All right? So, hold on just a second. Let me get to it real quick here. All right. So it's interesting because this was literally last week, Tuesday. Trump not looking for a ceasefire. And he's actually condemning Tulsi Gabbard, saying, yeah, I don't care what she said. I don't care if she said that there's no evidence showing that Iran is building nuclear weapons. I don't care. Bomb them. So if you all remember this, President Donald Trump on Tuesday of last week angrily pushed back at his own director of national intelligence assessment. This is someone that he appointed, he hired, he trusts. his own director of national intelligence assessment of Iran's nuclear program, telling journalists aboard Air Force One he did not care about her belief that Tehran was actively working on constructing a usable nuclear weapon. I don't like how, and to be very critical, I don't like how they said the word belief. See, there are things like I can believe in something. I can believe in a theory, or I can believe in hope, or you can believe in a God or higher power. But beliefs are different from facts. So even the way that this article phrased it, I just don't like it. Like, are they building one or not? Evidence shows that they're not. So, speaking to reporters on the way back to Washington after making an early exit from the 2025 G7 summit in Alberta, the president was asked about Tulsi Gabbard's March testimony before the House Intelligence Committee. So basically, our director of national intelligence, the person who has the most information about foreign affairs, stuff happening with like war, insider stuff that's happening between countries, tensions, goes before the House Intelligence Committee, goes before Congress, many of our elected representatives, and basically is like, yeah, U.S. intelligence has basically assessed that Iran was not working, and they are not working on building a nuclear weapon, though they are enriching uranium, which can be used for so many different things. Again, the metaphor I used is I can be sharpening a knife in a kitchen. Doesn't mean I'm going to use it to hurt someone, cause harm to them. It could also mean I'm about to make a meal. So you can't jump to conclusions. If it's important for any country to be very clear and understand, like, you can't just assume that if you're sharpening a knife, that means you're going to hurt someone. Does that make sense? But us as the warmongering country that we've always been, we're like, oh, they must have these dangerous things. It's so silly. Trump told CNN's Caitlin Collins that he believed that Iran was very close to working on a bomb. But when Collins pointed out that his top intelligence official, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, had said to Congress just 3 months ago, Trump became irate. I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having one. Now, who do you trust in this instance? You trust the prolifically lying current president that has literally been held for defamation and lying about an election? Or do you trust the director of national intelligence, who I still don't like for various reasons, but like, why would she go before Congress? What motive would she have to go before Congress and lie to them about a weapon, or a sort of a country's assessment on whether they have nuclear weapons? Like, what motive would she have to lie? It would jeopardize her job. And see, this is the thing with Trump. If he doesn't like it, he tries to blame other people. Tulsi Gabbard, as much as I don't like her, is just doing her job. She's like, yeah, there's no evidence to suggest that they're actually using that enriched uranium for any sort of weapon. So it's obnoxious to me how Donald Trump circumvents even his own intelligence director and just says, I don't care what the facts are, I'm just going to do whatever I want. We literally have a madman running our country. We have a madman running our country because he's just dismissing intelligence he doesn't like. And is like, I'm just going to bomb them anyway. You do realize that now, after we've bombed them, they're pissed at us. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to hit us back, which is actually already happening. I'll get back to this in a second, but just wanting to point out real quick here. Hold on just a second. I have so many graphics all the time when I do these live streams. Iran-backed militia planning attack on U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria. Report. This dropped just shortly before I did the live stream. It's like we went and just unprovokingly attacked another country, and they're pissed at us. They're pissed at us. Now, I would hope that they don't do that, but if you unprovokingly attack, smack, or hurt another person, guess what? They're going to want to hit you back. They're going to want to hit you back. And so Donald Trump's craven military action has literally just put a target on the backs of our American citizens, our military across the world. Again, he's anti-war. He lied. It's a bait and switch. Going further, our own intelligence director, Tulsi Gabbard, basically said, yeah, there's no evidence whatsoever that Iran was actually building a nuclear weapon. Went before the House committee and basically was like, yeah, during her March 26th appearance before the House panel, Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, told the United States Intelligence Committee, and they continue to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. They're only enriching uranium. They actually suspended their nuclear weapons program in 2003. It had not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. So, our own director of national intelligence is saying one thing, and Donald Trump is like, I don't care what she says. I believe that they have weapons. Now, if you want to believe the president, that's one thing. But here's the thing. This is a guy who flip-flops all the time. Do you really trust this guy? Do you really trust our current president? That's the thing. He said that he was going to make a decision within 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden, within like 72 hours, he just goes and bombs this country. This is a guy who says that, oh, we don't need regime change. And then now is saying we need regime change. Let me just continue going further here. So this was the intelligence threats assessment. Basically, when Tulsi Gabbard went before the House Intelligence Committee, was basically like, yeah, you know, there's no evidence to show that. If only the people on that would actually listen. Because other senators were like, oh, well, these are all about preemptive strikes. Here's the thing. Our Constitution allows for us to take action, the executive branch to take action in defensive mechanisms. This was an unprovoked attack. Iran posed no direct threat to us whatsoever. Whatsoever. There was no plans to do any of that. Iran was just angry at Israel. They're angry at Israel. We just went and smacked them, and now we've painted a target on our backs. So it's just, I'm so infuriated by the incompetent leadership. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. Now, if you're like, oh my God, why are you so pro-Iran? I'm not pro-Iran. You black and white short-sighted thinker, whoever might think that. No. I am for whatever is peaceful and diplomatic. What is so interesting, though, is whatever is peaceful and diplomatic, unfortunately, is not the United States, because we, as a country, just unprovokingly smacked Iran, bombed their country, when they had no plans to do anything nefarious to us whatsoever. You know, it's just, it's, ugh. So, anyway, getting back to today. So, on Saturday, Donald Trump bombs Iran. He bombs Iran. He basically said that, you know, a full payload of bombs was dropped on Iran's primary site. He dropped bombs on 3 different sites. Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. Okay? Again, there's no evidence that Iran was building a nuclear weapon. But then he has the audacity to say, now is the time for peace. Now's the time for peace. Not a piece of pie, not a piece of cake, not a piece of chocolate, although I do love all those things. We need peace. You can't just smack someone then pretend that you want peace. Like, that's not how that works. Now, what's also interesting is that Donald Trump campaigned on ending forever wars. One thing that I actually agreed with him on. And he also has put out a lot of different Truth Social posts saying, it's not political. I need my hands, hold on. This is what he also said. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, then why wouldn't there be a regime change? MAGA, which I guess is make Iran great again. What? So let me also point that out. Also, our defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, literally said the mission was not and has not been about regime change. The president authorized a precision operation to neutralize the threats of our national interests posed by the Iranian nuclear program. So our current defense secretary is saying that it's not a regime change. The president's saying that it's not a regime change. Then, like 14 hours later, the president then says, it's not politically correct to say regime change, not politically correct, but, you know, if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, then why wouldn't there be a regime change? I'm not gonna lie, if I was Pete Hegseth, I'd be pissed. I just stuck my neck out being like, Donald Trump isn't doing this, and then he goes and does it on Truth Social saying, I support regime change, why wouldn't I? God, it's just, oh my God, okay, and it, by the way, for people who are like, well, I'm confused, what is this operation called? This is called Operation Midnight Hammer. It involved 125 military aircraft, including 7 B-2 stealth bombers. That, you know, over time they said, oh, it completely destroyed the sites. Oh, it partially destroyed the sites. Now, oh, maybe it might not have destroyed everything. You're hearing so many different things. But, like, I also want to quickly shift to talking about MAGA's response. Right now, oh, thank you, Kate. Kate. The little heart, that's so cute. What's so interesting is you're seeing prominent MAGA people basically pulling a 180. You'll see this MAGA voice here. It was like, Trump will end these nonsense wars. Breaking, President Trump just used multiple B-2 stealth bombers to strike Iran's nuclear site. Trump will have had all this mastered out. I stand with Trump. Literally, you can see the timestamps here. You can see the timestamps. These people do not have an ideology. They do not have a set of beliefs. They do not have a morality. They don't have any of that. It's only loyalty. It's only loyalty. Here's another one. Juanita Broderick. This is not our war. This is not our war. Then goes like, what is it? Goes 9 days later. No other country in the world could have carried out what occurred last night. Only the U.S. military had this kind of weaponry. This is what happens when you are in a cult. If you have a position and then your leader does it, and then you're like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm totally for that. Stand up for your autonomy, for your own critical thinking. If you disagree with something, it's okay to disagree with it. If you don't like the fact that our president just bombed another country using a lot of money from our military to go and do this, now painting a target on the back of our servicemen, women, and all of that, and us as U.S. citizens, it's okay to stand against that. And guess what? A lot of America, and to the credit of some MAGA, are saying, yeah, this is crazy. I'll get to the polling here in a second. But it's like, these Trumpers, you're really going to pull a muscle with the amount of stretching you got to do. Just in, President Trump's administration tells allies that it will not get involved in a war against Israel unless Iran attacks Americans. Good. Not our war. 9 days later, I stand with Trump. I trust Trump. He made the right call. This is what happens when you are in a cult. This is what happens when you're in a cult. Period. End of story. All of a sudden, your cult leader takes a position that you don't like, and you decide to immediately completely reverse how you feel about it. And then you say, oh my God, like, okay, y'all are snowflakes, or y'all are in a cult. It's oftentimes the same people that claim, oh, you're Oh, you're like, no, Democrats are in a cult. No. Like, it's just, they have no shame. Hypocrisy is the brand of MAGA. If you disagree with Donald Trump on something, guess what? You immediately fall in line. Why? Because that's your leader. Because you are his thing to lead. I'm not going to say that word, the B word on here. But you get what I mean. It's like, you saw some of these signs before the election. Kamala Harris will send your children to war. Stop wars. Vote Trump Vance. 6 months later, we just unprovokingly bombed another country that was not doing anything to us. I swear. I swear. We kept men out of women's sports, honey. Being blatantly transphobic for those people who are intersex or are trans in between. Congratulations, MAGA. You did it. Or this, again, Tulsi Gabbard, who is the current director of national intelligence, was basically like, you know, a vote for Donald Trump is a vote for a man who wants to end wars, not start them. We just unprovokingly bombed another country. And now we put a target on our back, and they are rightfully pissed at us and planning invasions. This is what the military-industrial complex likes. They like when leaders of our country amp up and fearmonger about another country that is supposedly our enemy posing a threat, being dangerous to us, having weapons of mass destruction, enriching uranium to possibly use for nuclear weapons when there's no intelligence to suggest that they are actually doing that. And even the intelligence director says, yeah, that's not happening. They love to animate people and make people upset and fear. Like, even you can blame CNN, MSNBC, Fox News especially. They're like, oh yeah, this is so dangerous. They play the same thing over and over. The weapons industrial complex must have an enemy in order for them to then, we need more money for contracts to build bombs so that we can bomb things so that we can continue to make money. It's exhausting. It happens under both Democrats and Republicans, but let me be clear. It happens way more under Republican leadership than Democratic leadership. But Democrats are not immune from it. They're just the lesser of two evils. It is so frustrating seeing this play out over and over and over. Meanwhile, degrades the environment, puts people's lives at risk, and treats us like a commodity. Our lives are just an externality that these people don't have to worry about. Meanwhile, they get government contracts to the tunes of millions and billions of dollars for them to sit high and wealthy in their mansions. It's exhausting. I'm sorry, but these people in the military-industrial complex do not need 5 houses, 3 private jets, 2 big yachts. They don't need that crap. Meanwhile, you're jeopardizing national security. It is exhausting. It is exhausting. And it's the audacity. It's like, here's Trump saying, you're going to start World War III to Zelensky. And then guess what? Then he literally goes and unprovokingly bombs another country. Are y'all understanding and vibing with what I'm saying here? Like, are you on the same page? If you are, then make sure to send some likes, like the stream. It's just, it's incredibly frustrating to me. It's incredibly frustrating. I know I have on the limited chats because I just do not have, I don't have the patience to deal with crazy people this morning. I don't, sorry. I would rather not have that on, because let me also go to the polling here. Let me shift and let's actually break down some of the polling that comes into this, because guess what? Americans don't want war. Do Americans really want war with Iran? No. This is from The Economist. The Economist is a right-leaning publication. It is a conservative-leaning publication. So, you see here, things change fast in Donald Trump's America. Before the strike on Iran, public opinion showed that Americans overwhelmingly opposed to attacking the country. Polling for The Economist and YouGov last week showed that 60% of American adults opposed military involvement, and while only 16% of people actually supported it. Many people were in the middle, they weren't sure, but guess what? 60% were already like, yeah, we're against it. let me show you what that polling looked like. So again, right here, do you approve or disapprove of the US bombing nuclear sites in Iran? Guess what? You see a huge chunk of people still saying that they disapprove. But what's so interesting is Republicans are getting much more on board. They're like, oh, well, we trust Trump. We trust Trump. Meanwhile, they literally had a different position not long ago. That's what happens when you're in a cult. That's what happens when you are in a cult. Going further, for that reason, influential MAGA voices seemed torn, between their isolationism and loyalty to Trump. So Tucker Carlson, prominent example. They're like, oh, we don't need any more forever wars, but acknowledge that, if Trump starts one, we'll get on board. It's such a soft position. So among congressional Republicans, there are two factions that are actually now developing. You have the hawkish old guard that loves pro-war. They're very pro-war. You have the Ted Cruzes, the Lindsey Grahams, the John Cornyn's. These are people, Todd Young, you have Mike Browns. You have all these people who are the craven pro-war people. And then you have the ascendant new guard that doesn't like any American interventionism or any aid whatsoever, which I lean more towards that group for the sake of deterrence and diplomacy, though it can be complicated if we are, with the situation in Ukraine, we are Ukraine's ally and they were invaded. So it's like, yeah, we need to carry our weight in helping our friend. That being said, though, it's also very valid to criticize and say, okay, well, if we're sending them money, can we make sure that our money is being spent well? So every time America is on the verge of greatness, we get involved in another forever war, wrote Marjorie Taylor Greene. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but she's kind of spot on with that. She's kind of spot on. She's like, and I cannot believe that I'm saying those things, but guess what? Credit where credit is due. Credit where credit is due. Jacqueline O'Reilly, hello. So anyway, I'm actually going to turn on normal chats now. I'm just going to ignore it because, it's interesting that, it's interesting when people pop in here. And unfortunately, sometimes the reason why, if I turn off the chat filters, it gets more viewership into the live and then more people hear it. The only thing is, it's frustrating because it's just a whole bunch of trolls that come in here and take up the space. Sometimes be wary that 80% of the chat can sometimes be taken up by only 8 people. So just be wary of that as well. Israel is a nuclear armed nation. This is not our fight. That's literally what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. Cannot believe that I agree with her on that, but credit where credit is due. Let me also go further and show you that, again, Trump approvals fall and Israel-Iran conflict polling between June 13th and June 16th. All right? You can see here, this is what the approval versus disapproval of Donald Trump's numbers actually show. So you can see that here. That's the approval for different issues. So let me skip ahead to this. Only 16% of Americans think that the U.S. military should get involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran. 60% say that it should not. 24% are not sure. And you can see that it's kind of consistent among different parties. Most Americans think the military should not get involved between Israel and Iran. You can see in here, look, a whole huge chunk of Republicans even said no. This is polling between June 13th and June 16th from The Economist YouGov. The Economist is a right-leaning group. The Economist is a right-leaning group. Now, basically, you have all of these Republicans starting to get in line. It's showing a change of heart. As soon as Donald Trump does this, all of a sudden, many Republicans, not all, but many Republicans are like, yeah, I'm just going to choose to trust him. That's what happens when you're in a cult. They said, do you approve or disapprove of the U.S. bombing nuclear sites in Iran? Now, to the credit, there's a whole bunch of Republicans that are saying, no, we don't like that. But this is exactly the same. This is exactly the type of stuff that dictators do. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. They make it so easy for people like me to point out hypocrisy, but I don't like it because it's hypocrisy that's dangerous. Most Americans think that the U.S. should engage in negotiations with Iran over its nuclear program. But again, what's so interesting, as I pointed out, is there is no evidence to show that Iran is building nuclear weapons. They're enriching uranium, sure, but they're using that instead for powering their grid or scientific research. Our own intelligence community is saying, yeah, there's no evidence to show that they're building any nuclear weapons. But our country still decides, no, we're just gonna bomb them. It's so infuriating to me. It's the weapons of mass destruction all over again. All right, does you all remember Iraq, Afghanistan, weapons of mass destruction, Bush, everything? You all remember that stuff? Guess what? We look back on that now and we're like, yeah, that was bad. Well, guess what? This is the exact same thing that's happening. The exact same thing. Let me say that again. The exact same thing. The exact same thing. To all, and you know what's so stupid? Look at all these people in the chat. Look at all of them. They have nothing substantive to say. They have nothing substantive to say. This is why I have to I just turn it off. They have nothing substantive to say. It's so annoying. Like, they have nothing substantive to say. So what this shows is that as soon as Donald Trump decides to do something, people just fall in line. Think critically for yourself, good grief. Have your own autonomy, your own decision-making powers. It's so stupid. Polls, Americans oppose the bombing of Iran. And like, this is such a quick turnaround. This was a Washington Post poll. You can see at this time, do you support or oppose the US launching airstrikes with Iran? Guess what? 45% opposed, 30% were unsure, 25%. And this is a different poll. But you can see how, yeah, only a fourth of Americans would even support that. Under the Economist YouGov poll, it was only 16%. And now you're basically having a huge shift. MAGA's falling in line. There are some holdouts, sure. But let me also just point this out here. This is Strength and Numi. Support for bombing Iran is lower than previous interventions in the Middle East. So you can see back in down here in Afghanistan 2001, Iraq in 2003, ISIS in 2014, and then Iran in 2025. Public support for initial U.S. military strikes. You can see how Americans over time are starting to be like, yeah, look, we don't need any more foreign interventionists. We don't need this kind of stuff. We should be focusing on ourselves. If America First is supposed, I think in theory, it's supposed to be, hey, let's focus on ourselves and bettering our own country instead of us meddling in stuff. And I, as a progressive, independent, super woke person, I'm not going to say that I'm opposed to that. I think that is a great idea in theory. What happens in practice is Donald Trump completely does not abide by that. He lies to you. He lies to you. He sells you this bill of goods and then does a bait and switch. This is what he's always done. He says all these things that sound like a fantastic promise and then goes in and doesn't do any of it. Doesn't do any of it. For people that believe in this idea of America First, you should be pissed at this. Because guess what? They are using your money to build more weapons, more military contracts, to build more bombs, to bomb more countries. And then that is going to lead to us being in more forever wars where it drafts our loved ones into conflicts that were completely unnecessary. Why? To benefit the military-industrial complex. All over weaponizing the racism of, oh my God, these dangerous people in the Middle East. Meanwhile, there's no evidence to show that they're doing anything dangerous to us. And in fact, we are the antagonizer. We unprovokingly just bomb another country. You can't have nuclear weapons. We have nuclear weapons. We've used the nuclear weapons. We dropped them on Japan. We dropped them in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Israel is going and picking fights with all these other countries, and we back them up. I'm sorry to say that we are kind of the antagonists on the world stage. Now, obviously, I don't want any violence. I want diplomacy. But it also comes with realizing that we are the ones that are instigating the conflict. When our own intelligence is showing that there is no threat, and then Donald Trump says, no, I don't like that information, I'm just going to go and do it. Then we go and do it, and now they're pissed at us, and now we actually just put a target on our backs. I just can't. I don't want America to fall for the same kind of crap that we did. Weapons of mass destruction, Iraq and Afghanistan, or even with ISIS. It's like, it's so frustrating to me. It's so frustrating to me. We don't need war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Shout out to that song. And what's so interesting, and I don't follow this person too closely, but it's interesting because you have all of these MAGA people now. It's like the script has been distributed. If you're If you're no longer MAGA because Trump wiped out Iran's nuclear sites, you were never MAGA to begin with. If you are upset that Trump took out Obama's nuclear facilities in Iran, you were never MAGA to begin with. If you're no longer MAGA because Trump wiped out Iran's nuclear sites, you were never MAGA in the first place. I may be upset with I may upset a lot of people with this, but if you're no longer MAGA because Trump wiped out Iran's nuclear sites, then you were never MAGA to begin with. Look at the similarities. This is what happens when you, they don't have any critical thinking. They don't have any sort of independent thinking whatsoever. They don't have any critical thinking or independence whatsoever. It's whatever it is to please Donald Trump. That's what happens when you live in a country led by someone who has an authoritarian impulse like Trump. I mean, who else would make military parades on their birthday? It's so stupid. And going forward here, now that Obama's poll numbers are in a tailspin, watch him launch a strike on Libya or Iran. He is desperate. That's Donald Trump back on October 9th of 2012. Interesting. Interesting. Trump is claiming that his strikes on Iran made, and this is from Pat Ryan, who's a Democrat and also a veteran. Trump is claiming his strikes on Iran made the people safer. He is dangerously wrong. I served 2 combat tours in Iraq and am now on the Armed Services Committee. His actions are not only unconstitutional, but they've made America less safe, not more. Here's why. I'm also going to break down what the Constitution says about all of this. Within hours of the strike, Trump said that the nuclear facilities were, quote, completely and totally obliterated. This was literally impossible to know. A battle damage assessment takes days or even weeks, especially given the secretive, fortified nature of all of these targets. This morning, Chairman Kaine, Senator Kaine from Virginia, made it clear that it was far too soon to know whether Iran's nuclear program was destroyed. I hope and pray that the strike was successful, but there's a real chance the operation wasn't fully effective. If so, the risk to the U.S. is dramatically higher. Dramatically higher. Within hours of the strike, I already read that one. Iran now has every motivation to break out and develop a nuclear weapon as quickly as possible. So we're literally creating this animosity situation in real time. So now Iran has every motivation to break out and develop a nuclear weapon to then use it against us. Given the lack of clear rationale for why this preemptive strike was needed and what exactly it is capable of, given the lack of clear rationale for why this preventative strike was needed and what exactly it was capable of achieving, that is an incredibly dangerous amount of risk to take on. I know Trump said now he wants peace. I share that goal. The problem is that, as Secretary Mattis always says, in war, the enemy gets a vote. We have 40,000 troops in theater. The risk of an Iranian or proxy counterattack is now much higher. I'm praying for their safety. Continuing, It's not just conventional attacks from Iran, ballistic missiles, or drones that I'm worried about. It's asymmetric escalation, cyber, closing the Strait of Hormuz, which, by the way, the Strait of Hormuz is like a waterway that is very, very important for trade. Militant groups in Iraq deciding that they have nothing to lose. It's a, God forbid, strike on the homeland. I love our country. I proudly put my life on the line to keep American people safe, and I'm under no illusions about the Iranian regime. It is evil. But war is hell, and Trump just introduced an incredible amount of risk and volatility to the global order. He says, for a guy who ran on keeping us out of war, this is a total and complete 180. And he did it without ever making the case to the American people or getting Congress, even getting them on the same page as his director of national intelligence. This is deeply wrong and un-American. We need to have an honest conversation about, as a country, what comes next. We cannot repeat the approach from 2001 and 2002. The answer cannot be, we'll figure it out as we go. I lost too many friends because of that logic. Like, I couldn't have said it better myself. I literally could not have said it better myself. And airstrikes may start a war, but they rarely end it. I'm not convinced that the president has thought that through, or has any plans to de-escalate. This debate has to happen in front of and with the input of the American people. No more forever wars. AOC even said it is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment because he didn't get the consent of Congress. People were making memes like the president you voted for, the president you got, who is Bibi Netanyahu. I also want to point out that there's a constitutionality question that comes with this as well. Like, shouting and squealing that great leader is right doesn't make you smart. 100%. 100%. There's a constitutionality question about this as well. So, for everyone that's like, oh, Donald Trump, you know, he's the commander-in-chief. He's the commander-in-chief. I hear you. Also, we have, in our United States, we have the Constitution, which outlines the powers of the president and the powers of Congress. So for those people who are like, well, the president is the commander-in-chief, he defends and protects, blah, blah, blah. Let's look at what the Constitution says about war. Let's look at what the Constitution says about war. Make sure to send some likes. I love all of you. So for people who are like, you know, I know I've heard some sort of controversy about, you know, maybe Donald Trump broke the law actually doing this. It's very likely he did. When you go and look, this is from the National Constitution Center. Let's look at what the legislative branch actually says. So in Section 8 of the Constitution, Section 8, Article 1, talks about the powers that Congress has. Congress is the House of Representatives, your senator. It's the elected body of representatives. So Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, excise, all of that stuff. So it basically goes into putting out all these different powers. In Section 8, it talks about Congress has the power to declare war, grant letters of marque, make rules regarding captures of land and water, to raise and support armies, you know, provide and maintain a navy, to provide calling for the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrectionists, and repel invasions. So it talks about how Congress is the one that has the power to declare war. Not the president. Not the president. The president does not have the power to declare war. Now, if you think that should change, that's fine. But you also have to change the Constitution. This is the document that governs our country. If you don't like what the Constitution says, advocate for it to be changed, because that is what we all agreed upon. So, and that's why you always have the different amendments within the Constitution. The different amendments about giving women, like putting the drinking age at a certain thing, or giving women the right to vote. It's important to note that's what the Constitution is for. Now, let's look at the executive branch. the executive branch. What does the executive branch say about war powers? The president shall be commander-in-chief. That's literally what it says. Shall be commander-in-chief of the Navy and militia. When called into service, he may appoint people to do X, Y, and Z, but it says commander-in-chief. Now, there's also something called the War Powers Resolution, which basically put in saying that if, and this was passed in like 1973 or so, saying that, hey, you know, if we do end up going to war, we need to make sure that Congress is the one that authorizes it, not the president. Not the president. Now, this is what the legislation looks like since it was passed in 1973. It's sometimes a little bit hard to read, but I can go through and read this further, but basically it just says that the president must consult Congress before going to war. So, did Donald Trump violate the Constitution and the War Powers Act by bombing Iran nuclear sites? Yeah, pretty much. It's a clear violation of the Constitution. In the absence of evidence that Iran was immediately breaking out to build a bomb, and without congressional approval, this operation should have never been ordered. Should have never been ordered. Even Thomas Massie, a Republican's like, yeah, this is not constitutional. And you even have a whole bunch of representatives being like, yeah, we want to pass another resolution really echoing this. And guess what? For the party that likes to claim that they're anti-war, Republicans, oh, we're anti-war, that's why I'm voting for Trump. It's so interesting to note that the people who signed on to this resolution, you only have one Republican, Thomas Massie. The rest are all Democrats. Ro Khanna, California Democrat. AOC, New York Democrat. Val Hoyle, Oregon Democrat. Rashida Tlaib, Michigan Democrat. Pramila Jayapal, Washington Democrat. Donald Baer, Virginia Democrat. Lloyd Doggett, Texas Democrat. Greg Casar, Texas Democrat. Ayanna Pressley, Massachusetts Democrat. Dalia Ramirez, Illinois Democrat. Summer Lee, who I met personally, Pennsylvania Democrat. Ilhan Omar, Minnesota Democrat. And like, I'm not even done. Chuy Garcia, Illinois Democrat. Nydia Vasquez, New York Democrat. I could go on and on. James McGovern, all this blue is all Democrat. Look at this. This is all the people who are saying, yeah, you need to consult Congress before going to war because we don't need to be in this conflict. Look at all these people. Look at all these people. And look, I give credit to Thomas Massie for being staunchly opposed to this kind of stuff, because you want to talk about America first, it means not being involved in foreign wars, which Donald Trump just did. What's so also really interesting about this is Donald Trump said that he was going to wait 2 weeks before making decisions. It's like, oh, I'll make the decision in 2 weeks whether we're going to do drone strikes or not. Well, that didn't last long. Like, he literally told his press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, like, hey, can you say that we're gonna make a decision in 2 weeks? Then literally like 72 hours later, he just goes and bombs them. This is also the same guy that said that he wants a ceasefire, but he said, I don't want a ceasefire, I want better than a ceasefire. No, you're not mishearing me. He actually did say that. He actually did say that. He's like, I want better. I want better than just a ceasefire. I want better. Let me get to it. Hold on. Oh my gosh. There's just so much that I always have. He's like, I'm looking for better than just a ceasefire. Like, what is better than a ceasefire? What is better than a ceasefire? And then, not caring about what his director of national intelligence said. And so you're seeing a divide between these MAGA people. And this whole situation, it's so overwhelming trying to, break it all down. But basically, we as the United States, here, let me give you the executive summary again. Let me give you the executive summary. We just bombed the crap out of another country, unprovokingly. We also violated the Constitution doing it. Because in order for us to authorize and declare war, you have to get the consent of Congress. Now, if you're like, well, wait a minute. Is it possible that Joe Biden also did this? Yes. Yes. Yes, it's very likely. So let me also put this up here. I'm very critical of everything. Did Biden do this by ordering Yemeni airstrikes? It's very arguable that, yeah, that's the case. Now, there's a caveat to this. If you all remember, some members of the U.S. Congress claim that the president, Joe Biden, violated the Constitution by instituting strikes over Yemen. Now, these were strikes that were in response to Iranian ships attacking our U.S. vessels. So you're like, okay, well, that is an airstrike as a mechanism of defense. So is that different? I would say yes. So there might be some people that like to claim that, oh, Biden did the same thing. Okay. I personally think it's a tiny bit different. Why? Because it was a response to Iran already attacking our ships. So we decided to do drone strikes over Yemen to attack them as a response, a defense mechanism, not a declaration of war. So what makes it different with Trump, is that there was no evidence to suggest that Iran was building a nuclear weapon. Our director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, said, yes, they're enriching uranium, but they don't plan on trying to do that with nuclear weapons. Trump ignores that, bombs them anyway, claims that it was for our safety. It was not for defense. Thereby, it violates the Constitution. And meanwhile, the public polling showed that people did not want this to happen. June 13th through June 16th, pretty much an even swath of Americans said, yeah, we don't want to go to a war with Iran. We don't need to be doing that. We don't need to be getting in the middle of their conflict. And now, because Donald Trump is a dictator to many people, or Donald Trump, is the absolute Lord King, you have Republicans making a change of heart, completely going back on what they said, because now their dear leader decides to do this thing. You're falling for it. It's becoming the same kind of crap over and over. It's like you throw all of your supposed morals out the window to please this guy's ego. Now, you're like, okay, this is just all so exhausting. What can we do? Well, it starts with us knowing the proper chain of events. This is going to be my last summary, and then I'm going to be done because I've been live for an hour. Trump pulls out of the Iran deal, basically where they said, yeah, we promise not to make any nuclear weapons. Trump campaigns on ending forever wars, which I agreed with him on. And I would give credit, I agreed with him on that idea. Too bad that there was only an idea, because now he just decided to bomb another country unprovokingly. Israel does not like Iran, ramps up attacks on Iran, tries to get the US to do Israel's bidding by bombing them, and guess what? We ended up doing it. Iran started enriching uranium, but that doesn't mean that they were actually engaging in building any sort of nuclear weapons. You can enrich uranium and not have it be used for that. The same way, as I've said, my metaphor, I can be sharpening a knife in a kitchen doesn't mean I'm going to use it to stab someone. It could be used to make a meal. If you're going to say, oh, well, you're going to use it to stab someone, you need evidence of me saying or deciding or making action or laying out a plan. You have to have evidence. You can't just have speculation when it comes to serious matters like this. So they start enriching uranium. Trump's administration officials, director of national intelligence, and the intelligence community say, yeah, there's no evidence showing that they're building a nuclear weapon. Donald Trump says, I don't like that information, let's bomb them anyway. So we go ahead and bomb them anyway. And now, Trump breaks the Constitution by doing this, circumventing the powers of our Congress, declaring war, bombs the crap out of them, and now claiming that they need regime change, even though he criticized them for having regime change. MAGA is divided, and now we've possibly entered World War III. We unprovokingly attacked another country, and now they're about to hit us back. Like, you can't go around unprovokingly smacking someone else and then they come to smack you and you'd be like, no, I want peace. Last thing I'll point out is that's literally what Donald Trump is trying to do. So Donald Trump bombs another country, and now he's coming back and saying this. You know, full payload of bombs is just dropped on the primary site. Now is the time for peace. You cannot just smack someone and then all of a sudden they go to smack you back and you say, no, I just want peace. That's not how that works. And now we're preparing for Iran to attack American soldiers, and people's lives are going to be on the line. I know this is really annoying and difficult information to take in. That is the best of my knowledge up until this point. If you have appreciated the coverage here, then please make sure to subscribe. Please make sure to subscribe. I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate every single one of you, even if you don't like me. Please make sure to like the stream before it ends. Y'all are all awesome. So I'm going to skedaddle so that I'm going to go and make some more content. Today is my day off, so I love all of you. Shout out to my amazing moderators in here. Elisa, Akicha, Kate, Cherie, Jenny. I could not do any of this without you all. Ellie, love you, Ellie. Joanna Tech, you're incredible. I couldn't do any of this without my moderators. And my good friends in here. MF Hendo, you're awesome. C-Bar, love you. Who else was in here today? Want to make sure. I saw Cherie, Jacqueline O'Shea, nice seeing you. Cherie, you're awesome. Your Trump impression always makes me laugh, Kevin Jones. Oh, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. I think it's one of the best. It's fantastic. It's incredible. Some people say they don't like it, but they secretly love it. They secretly love it, and they think that it's one of the best ever. But I appreciate every single one of you. Y'all are awesome. Shout out to my amazing moderators, as always. Thank you so much. Just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever dim your shine. I love all of you so much. Bye!